Hello and welcome to Unapologetics. I am Brently, and welcome to the show where we find Christian articles and we go through them. That's kind of what I'm doing now. It's an untapped fucking resource, man. It's awesome. Like I've just I all I did was Google Christian articles, and the craziest stuff came up. I mean, just I mean, it's wild the things that they read and just like the content that they take in general is just incredible. It's absolute batshit crazy, and it's just getting so deep in the weaves of of like what they believe and whatnot, and it's just crazy that it's like most of it is just making shit up, you know, or just interpreting the Bible in a particular way and like using the original words, from the Greek and the Hebrew and stuff like that. It's fascinating. So, this is an article on crossway.org slash article slash what does it really mean to take the Lord's name in vain. And that's what we're covering today. So this is on. So I mean, first of all, there is four different sets of 10 Commandments. It depends on what denomination you're in, and what interpretation of said denomination and things like that. For how which one you pick, right? Most people tend to pick I want to say the first one, that got smashed, and then for some reason, because they were breaking a commandment that they didn't know was a commandment yet, because he was literally like getting the commandments. So like he comes down, and they're all worshiping this idol, right? Um, which is what a weird thing to do. Like, I mean, you got to be fucking bored. Like, how bored were they? I remember that part of that. There was that. It's in that movie. With Charlton Heston. I think it's called the 10 Commandments. That's the name of it. I think it's called the 10 Commandments. And it's just so fucking weird. They like come down. He comes down from the mountain. He's got his big like foam. Commandments that he can lift so easily but they're supposed to be on these massive these massive like rocks that he's just holding like they're nothing. Anyway, um he comes back down, and like everybody's dancing around, and like have basically melted down all their gold and created a calf, and they are worshiping this calf, because you just got to be worshiping something. You can't just not be worshiping stuff. you know that'd be crazy. Now that'd be crazy, not worshiping things. Whether it be an idol or a very angry god that they literally were just looking at 5 seconds ago. Like I don't know how these people can believe these stories. It's unbelievable. They just saw like the fury of God or whatever, and it shows like this big like storm, by the mountain, you know, and they see all this, and then he goes up there, and they're like, you know what? Fuck that big storm god thing. Let's make up our own. Let's just I got an idea. Okay, let's worship a calf. Yeah, let's do that. But a golden one though. So everybody melt down your gold, and we're gonna make this god to worship. Like, what the fuck? Who does that? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, what a weird story. Anyway, so this is on the third of these 10 Commandments. Okay, I'm not gonna go through and tell you like all the different 10 Commandments. You can easily look that up. DuckDuckGo that shit. Um, Anyway, so here's the article. The what? So, what exactly is forbidden by the third commandment? The word vain, as it is rendered in the ESV, I have no idea what the fuck is ESV. English Standard Version? That's probably it, right? English Standard Version? I don't know. I have to look that up. Can mean empty, nothing, worthless, or to no good purpose. We are forbidden, therefore, from taking the name of God or taking up the name or bearing the name as the phrase could be translated. That all this is like, I swear to God, these articles love parentheses. All that was in parentheses, okay? It says from taking the name of God, and in parentheses, or taking up the name or bearing the name as the phrase could be translated in a manner that is wicked, worthless, or for wrong purposes. This doesn't mean that we have to avoid the divine name altogether. The name YHWH, or Yahweh, the Lord, is in most translations, appears some 7,000 times in the Old Testament alone. Wow, that's actually pretty impressive. We don't need to be superstitious about saying his name. But we must not misuse it. Like in this part of the article, what they're doing, they're clearly responding to something, right? Somebody said, "No, it's the holy name Yahweh. You can't say that, because that's a name." And I can't remember where it was, but it says it's only supposed to be uttered like within the holy of holies or whatever, or at least in the temple, and that's it. And it's only during worship, like it's just a word that you would use for worship. And so clearly they're responding to that. They're like, no, you got it wrong, buddy. I know the real, interpretation of the third commandment of the first set of 10 commandments. The Old Testament identifies several ways in which the third commandment can be violated. Most obvious is to blaspheme or curse the name of God, which we saw already in Leviticus 24:16. Okay, so this is from their version they like, ESV. I think it's the English Standard Version, I think. Whoever blasphemes the name of the Lord shall surely be put to death. All the congregation shall stone him, the sojourner as well as the native, so anybody just passing by, when he blasphemes the name, shall be put to death. That is, wow. Loving God here, it's the God of peace right there, Jesus Christ, what the fuck? Say the wrong thing and we'll kill you. Like, we'll all, like, this, you can tell this is written in such like an archaic time. Like, it's just a time where life just doesn't matter at all. And yet they want to sit here and talk about the sanctity of life. It's hilarious. But wait, there's more. There's more of the commandment than that. The third commandment also forbids empty or false oaths. You shall not swear by my name falsely, and so profane the name of your God. I am the Lord. Again, this is in Leviticus 19:12, and then I guess Hosea 10:4a. They have letters now. Okay, sure, whatever. I guess if it's too long, they're like, let's divide this with fucking letters. Like, when you make a declaration swearing by God's name, it must not be a false promise or one you do not intend to keep. Okay. So again, like with the thought crime, you got to be. I guess that it can't find a distinction between like keeping your promise, because sometimes we make promises that we just can't keep. We want to keep it, but we can't. And so they're sort of saying not to do that, but like definitely don't like say it if you're not intending to keep that promise. Like, I swear to God. That's like what they're referring to here. And again, I don't know. It's like, let me see. You shall not swear by my name falsely and so profane the name of your God. I am the Lord. That's Leviticus 19:12. Let's see, Hosea 10:4a. They utter mere words, with empty oaths they make covenants. So judgment springs up like poisonous weeds in the furrows of the field. Man, I swear they take so many leaps on like what the actual words are, and then like this is why they have to have these articles, because the Bible contradicts itself so frequently, and you could basically make it say whatever you'd like it to say. So they kind of have to like show you, oh look, here's like multiple places where I'm right. Basically, that's what they're doing here. You know, and they're basically saying just don't say goddamn. I mean that's really what it's or Jesus Christ. Like I just it seems to be this person's interpretation, but they're really serious about it, and they're trying to bring receipts here. Now this part almost seems like it's required for their logic to make sense, right? Because you're gonna have you have to have this in order for any religion to work at all, right? But it ends up just being like a no true Scotsman, like everybody pointing the fingers at somebody else, saying that everybody else is interpreting it wrong, right? So the third commandment also prohibits false visions and false claims to speak on God's behalf. Hear that, Cat Kerr? Hank Kuhnman? For such prophets prophesy lies in my name. Strangely enough, sacrificing one's children to the false god Molech was considered a violation of the third commandment because it profaned the name of God. How? How does sacrificing children... Well, first of all, who the fuck's doing that? Like, and they're, hey, are you sacrificing your child to that thing? To that owl thing right there? And they're like, yeah, what? And you're like, dude, that's violating the third law, of God, so can't do that. Like, who the fuck? This is so weird. What, like, when was this written? Like, that's where you just, like, the time that this was written is just so irrelevant to anything that's going on this, in this day and age. It's amazing. But anyway, and that makes no sense. Like, sacrificing children to Molech is a violation of the third commandment. Somehow, I guess that's using God's name in vain. It makes no sense. But anyway, that's according to Leviticus 18:21. So the Israelites were to stone the man who sacrificed his children in this way. Failure to do so would allow for uncleanliness to permeate the camp, thereby besmirching. Wow, that's a word I don't read every day. Thereby besmirching the name of the Lord who dwelt in the midst of his people. Like, this seems just like an all-around fucking, like, don't be, like, we can basically say that this law is anything. Like, if I feel like I'm in charge, right, and I feel like you disrespected my God, I get to murder you now, and that seems to be all there is to this. And this is the Bible that they love from their loving God. Amazing. Similarly to unlawfully touch the holy things was considered a violation of the third commandment. So what? How? Similarly to unlawfully touch the holy things was considered a violation. First of all, what things are super holy? Like, I bet you it's talking about like the what do you call it? The Ark of the Covenant. Yeah, I bet you it's like that, because they, like, when it was tipping over the one point and they, like, started to lose their footing, the one guy was like, oh, I gotcha, and then died because he touched the Ark of the Covenant. And God's like, yeah, fuck you, man, for trying to steady us. I don't know who you think you are, buddy. And interestingly enough, that was, like, I believe... it's another time in the Bible where God parts the waters for this Ark of the Covenant. Anyway, it's a violation of the third commandment. We read Leviticus 22. Speak to Aaron and his sons so that they abstain from the holy things of the people of Israel, which they dedicate to me, so that they do not profane my holy name. I am the Lord. Likewise, the priests who cut corners in Malachi's day were devaluing the name of God by their polluted offerings and cynical hearts. Malachi 1:10 through 14. So, again, this is just like the end all. Like, I mean, this is just the cover all commandment. You could say, this is the one. This is probably the worst commandment, honestly, for that time, because basically everybody. This is like a witch hunt. Like everybody's just out pointing. Hey, you disrespected it. Oh, they touched a thing they're not supposed to. Oh, that this person was like sacrificing his children to Molech for some reason. I'm not really sure why he was doing that. But like, and it's funny how that's like so evil. If you sacrifice your child to Molech, that's like the like super evil thing to do, right? If you murder your own kid for talking back or getting drunk, that's required by the Bible. That's normal. Like the killing of the kid is not the fucking. That's not the word. That's not the bad part. Like, how fucking what? Like why? Just don't kill your kids, please. Okay, don't do that. That's bad. Jeez Louise, what the fuck is happening? The why. We've already seen that breaking the third commandment is considered a terribly serious sin. But why? There are only 10 commandments after all. Only 10 words to summarize everything God wants from us by way of obedience. How did watch your mouth make the top 10? What's the big deal about God's name? Think about Exodus 3, where God speaks to Moses from the burning bush. Yeah, totally rational, not crazy at all. Moses asks God, if I come to the people of Israel and say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you, and they ask me, what is his name? What shall I say to them? And God replies with the famous words, I am who I am. To me, that's just like a fuck you to him. Like, I don't know. Look, I'm me. I'm the dude. That's who are you? What are you, asshole? Like, what are you fucking? What do you mean I am who I am? How is that helpful? That's exactly the opposite thing of being helpful to that particular question, and God just refuses to answer it. It's so funny. What a fucking asshole. Say this to the people of Israel. I am has sent me to you. What? That doesn't, why would he say that? Anyway, I am has sent me to you. God names himself as the sovereign, self-existent one. In fact, the covenant name, YHWH, is probably connected to the Hebrew verb to be. God is that he is. That is his name. What? It's like, it reminds me of like, oh, his name is like that I exist. Like, he's the one that actually does exist. He's the one that's there for sure. Totes, my goats. Like that seems like that's what's happening here. It's so fucking weird. Like, the name means to be in Hebrew. Like, what is that? What? Those aren't words that. Anyway, it's like, Jesus Christ. Those aren't words that mean a name of any like kind. To be, it's like, or not to be. Really, I mean, it's like that's the question. Anyway, God is that he is. That is his name. It is. I'm telling you, it's like I exist so hard. That's my name. You know what I mean? Like I'm totally real and true. That's just call me that. Jesus Christ. Okay, so this part of the article is just wow. I mean, this is where they really start taking leaps. Like if you thought they were taking leaps before, just hold on to your fucking hats. We see the name. Or we see the same thing in Exodus 33. Moses asks God to show him his glory, and in reply, God speaks to him his name. I will make all of my goodness pass before you, and will proclaim before you my name, the Lord. I don't know. It says v.19a. I don't know. I guess that's the in Exodus 33. The way to see God's glory is to hear his name. To know the name Yahweh, the merciful and gracious one. Merciful. is not to merely know something about God, it is to know God himself. God shows himself by speaking his name. He didn't say his name. Like, I mean, I guess the Yahweh thing is now his name, but that just means to be. Like, it's so fucking weird. How silly, it seems like the way to see God's glory is to hear his name. Okay, Yahweh, Yahweh, where are you at? I don't see no glory. Guess it just doesn't work anymore. I don't know. I'm trying. It's so funny too. Like, just a quick aside. I was taking an Uber ride the other day, and this guy, I can't remember oh yeah, we were talking about Clearwater. Clearwater came up, and I was like, yeah, it's pretty much being bought up by all of the Scientologists, and he was like, oh, they are in a cult, and I was like, yeah, they sure are, and I was like, it's crazy, I said something about like, the difference between a religion and a cult is that you can get out of a religion, you can leave, and he came back and said, this was so strange. He said, there's actually no identifiable difference between a cult and a religion. And then he said, I myself am not religious. And I said, oh, cool. Me neither. I'm an atheist. And he said, oh, no, I'm a Christian. And I'm like, fucking what? He's like, but I just have a relationship with Jesus. And so it was that whole, it's not a religion, it's a relationship, I guess, because like the religion is like soured in their mouth or something. I'm not really sure how that works. But they got to get away from that word religion. 'Cause that's a bad word, so they say, oh, it's a relationship. And I'm like, yeah, with the central character of a fucking religion, that makes you religious. When I say I'm not religious, I actually fucking mean it. I'm not using it as some like way to like pretend to be non-religious and then witness to you, which he went on to do and basically said, you just got to believe that it's true. Just act like it's true, and then you'll believe that it's true. That was honestly his, like, because I was like, how do you know it's true? He's like, well, you just got to keep on acting like it is. You got to keep on just, think like it's true, and then he'll show up. So it's like, well, of course that's, going to happen if you just pretend that it's true. And even if it doesn't happen, it doesn't matter. You're already pretending that anyway. It's what a nonsensical conversation we had, but that it reminds me of this, like, because it's like they don't want to be called religious. But here's the next part of the article. Our name is not tangible to our being. It marks us and identifies us over time as people get to know us. Our name embodies who we are. Okay. I think you're, again, like looking a little bit too deeply into this. Like, names are just like so you can be identified, and a lot of people have the same name, and it doesn't necessarily say anything about who they are or anything like that. It's just like so the parents can like get them to clean their room or whatever, so they know which one needs to clean which room. Like, that's where we're at with that. Think of someone whom you love deeply. Your child, grandchild, parent, friend, or spouse. The name of that person represents more than markings on a page. Okay, yeah, because I have a relationship with them. Like, if I'm going to, like Nikki, like, is someone I love like crazy. But Nikki's, like, the name Nikki isn't, like, it's not like if I see the name Nikki on TV, I'm like, ooh, I got to be careful. I might fall in love with this person on TV that might be my favorite character, on this show because I'm in love with Nikki. Like, that's not how names work. Again, they're like, this is the type of weird shit where they completely overstretch, to make a point and try to like bring it all around, bring it all home, when someone says the name Trisha, I am overcome with good thoughts because I cannot separate my wife from her name. Okay, yeah, again, if you're talking about that Trisha, what if there's a different Trisha who's a villain in a movie? Like, you're gonna be overwhelmed with thoughts of love for them just because they have the same fucking name? Jesus, no, it's the representation of the whole. It's that actual person that you're in love with, and you just call them by their name so that you know who they are. You know how to address them out of a crowd. That's it. A whole flood of emotions, experiences, joys, and desires comes to me at the sight or sound of those 6 letters put together in that name. So basically, it's just saying names are important. It's like they're so super duper important because I love my wife, and when I hear my wife's name, I, am just overtaken by love. Which it only works if it's in the context of you referring to that particular one. Because again, multiple people have the same names. It's not. Especially if you're named like fucking John or something, or one of these biblical names. Pretty much any name in the Bible, you got like a million people named that shit. Now we're really gonna go hard with this name thing. So listen to this. Check this out. This is great. Names are precious, which is why we don't like our name ridiculed, twisted, or made fun of. I have a name that's fairly difficult to malign, with the middle name Lee. Some people have called me Heavenly or Kevinly. Okay, funny. But that's hardly an insult. The worst name to stick is the name my friends in seminary gave me, although De Young is a common Dutch name. Apparently it was unfamiliar in Massachusetts because people there would meet me and think my last name was Dion. So to this day, my seminary friends call me Celine. Okay, like Celine Dion. Good one. So some friends. He's very, very clear about that. It's the only nickname I've ever had. Not the best I could hope for, but my heart will go on. Oh, that was good. See what he did there? That was good. But funny nicknames given to us is one thing. Irreverent use of God's name is another. Everywhere in Scripture, the name of the Lord is exalted in the highest possible terms. O Lord, our Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth. Ascribe, that's Psalms 8:1a. Ascribe to the Lord the glory due his name. There's another one in Psalms. The first petition of the Lord's Prayer is hallowed be your name. That's Matthew. The apostles proclaimed that there is no other name under heaven given among men by which we must be saved. That's in Acts. Paul assured the Romans that everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. That's in Romans. And the culminating event in all of creation is when, at the name of Jesus, every knee should bow in heaven and on earth and under the earth. And every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. Okay. The Bible does not want us to forget the holy importance of the divine name. But yet Jesus' name doesn't even appear in the fucking Old Testament because it's a completely different God. Like, why did they not mention his name once in the Old Testament? If they're prophesying about this person, don't you think they would put the name in there? The angel literally told Mary to name her kid Jesus. He's like, that's the name, we've got. So clearly they already knew it. They knew what it was going to be. Why didn't they put it in the Old Testament? Unless this is all just made up bullshit. And this Jesus guy, if he existed at all, I'm not sure. I'm agnostic on that, to be completely honest. It was just some cult leader, Jim Jones or some shit, who just ended up getting killed by the government. That seems to be, or what's his name? Damn, the one that was David Koresh or some shit, from Waco, something like that. That's an example I use quite a bit because it is basically what happened to Jesus, right? He was murdered, crucified, whatever, for committing crimes, against the government, I guess, or whatever. But that one happened more recently, right? He had, following, it's well documented. We know that David Koresh actually definitely existed. We have videotape of him, and but yet we'd never ever believe that he was actually God or he was actually the Son of God or anything like that. or even a legitimate prophet. And that was the entire article, right there. It only took me a half an hour to get through that. But to summarize, let's sum up here. Um, Names are important. They embody everything about every individual. Uh, not That's not true, but names are important. Um, you can also somehow be applied to sacrificing your child to Molech. That's important. The third commandment. Make sure you don't. Make sure you try not to sacrifice your children to Molech ever. I don't know if it's just Molech or if it's any god, but I mean he did ask. Was it Abraham to do that? Yeah. So it's not totally weird to murder your kid according to these people, according to this belief system. That they still think somehow applies to today. Back, reading stories about people sacrificing their children because they thought they heard a voice in their head tell them to, until all of a sudden they see a ram and they're like, "Oh, that must mean I'm not supposed to kill my kid." Because a ram shows up. That is like one of the funniest stories to me. Like, it's just so stupid. It's so obviously bullshit. Or just so obviously mental illness completely. And which is, I mean, no laughing matter, really. I mean, a kid almost died there, But the fact that they take that story that just sounds like somebody who's batshit crazy and goes, "This is how dedicated you should be to God." God, that's fucking insane. Also, the irony of God just when he asked, who am I supposed to say who sent me? God was just like, "I am me. I am me, the person who's there." Tell him that. What? That's hilarious. But names are super important. It's so important that God didn't even say it. Until like later, I guess, when he was flying past him, where he like literally showed him his ass. That's in there. That's in the Bible. We'll get to that at some point. I think it was Moses, or Moses or Abraham. I always forget, mix them up. Says like, "Can you show me your face?" He said, "No, but I can show you my ass." And so he shows him his ass, and because he saw his ass, he ended up glowing because of it. Because he just has that powerful of an ass. Okay, no, I checked. So it's Abraham is the one that breaks the Ten Commandments. Moses is the one who's like the baby that gets put in a basket in the river and then is somehow found by the Egyptian queen and is like, I'm collecting babies today. And then she like takes it and raises it and raises Moses. And then he, eventually figures out that he's, a Jewish person, but and not Egyptian. So those are the different. So to make sure, it's the one with the cartoon. Is Moses. That's that one. That's not the Ten Commandments guy. It's different guy. But at least it's not as confusing as the Book of Mormon. You know what I mean? Like Mormon, they like use like I think there's a place named Mormon and a guy named Mormon and like some inanimate object I think named Mormon. Like yeah, it's gets unbelievably confusing in that fucking religion. Holy shit. But this really just seems to me, I mean, if sacrificing, a kid to Moloch is somehow breaking this particular law, it seems like it's just a coverall law that you can just say anybody did, so that, because I mean, they couldn't prove it back then. It's not like they had a phone like, look, he said it on video, look at him saying it. It's not like they could do that. So they could just basically just say that someone said it, or just say, it's just one of those ways they could basically just get the whole in-group to murder a member of that in-group because, some other member of that in-group doesn't like them. That tends to be what happens in situations like this, especially for verses this vague. I mean, look, they had to go through this entire article to basically, because of how little it makes sense, they have to do this whole article where they like like, so, they got the thread and the needle, and they're, they're connecting this verse to that verse to over here, Old Testament to New Testament, just all over the place. Names are important. There's like, when I think of my wife's name, it makes me happy. Like, it embodies the whole person or whatever. It's just, God, it's amazing that the mental gymnastics that they will do, and then write it down and then act as if it's like a fact. That's what's really fascinating about these articles, is that they're written by just regular people just making shit up. There's people that have pretty much have Google. You can say, give me all the Bible verses about God's name. Boom. Like all that comes up, right? And they can just keep on doing shit like that, Okay, give me all the Bible verses that say this, and it all comes up. Like it's, you can do this with literally anything. It's not even that difficult. They're just making shit up. Most of this stuff, too, by the way, it seems, was all taken... Yeah, it's like majority from the Old Testament. I guess they're talking about an Old Testament commandment, but but I guess Jesus does say in the New Testament to follow the Old Testament, which don't say that to a Christian. They'll freak out if if you say, hey, that Jesus said you're supposed to follow my Father's laws, like the commandments that hadn't been written, that were written before, because Jesus is saying it. So he's not talking about the New Testament, man. He's talking about the Old Testament, and he's saying, follow my Father's laws until the heavens and earth disappear. You will be beholden to this law, or something along those lines. But Christians hate that shit. They don't like to hear it because they don't want to have to follow the old laws, because they know they're batshit crazy. So they're like, oh no, we get to pick and choose which laws we want. I remember my argument used to be, the Ten Commandment wasn't written for me. I'm a Gentile, So the fact that I'm a Gentile, the fact that I'm not a Hebrew person, means that those laws were not written for me. And so they're only the laws that Jesus said, and Jesus does basically take a bunch of laws and then just say that they're null and void. He's like, a couple different times, he's just like, yeah, you've heard it said that an eye for an eye, but I say turn the other cheek, or whatever. There's several different places where Jesus literally says the opposite of what the Old Testament says, and yet he's supposed to be the author of said Old Testament, the one that inspired the whole thing. But, I guess he changed his mind after a couple thousand years or whatever, or changed his mind after 8,000 years. I don't know how long is between the Old and New Testament. I think it's a long time though. Yeah, so it just doesn't make any sense. It's quite it's quite interesting to think about though. All right, well, thank you all so much for listening. Really appreciate it. We're going to be having more content coming with more podcasters. So definitely stick around. It's going to be a lot of fun. And also definitely check out the Progressive Pals podcast on YouTube every Wednesday night at 11:30. If you comment, we generally put up most of the comments and respond to them as we go through. And we just watch a bunch of right-wing watch videos and just general right-wing idiocy. That tends to be what we cover. It's quite fun. Yeah, please like and subscribe to all that. Make sure to share us around if you can to get the word out about the show. That'd be great. And yeah, thank you so much again for listening. This was a lot of fun. So what do we say to the haters, discriminators, and masturbators, shamers? Fuck off.